Hello and welcome to RiceEye's YouTube channel. My name is Shah, and in today's editorial explain video, we're going to see a detailed discussion upon the article of the Hindu's newspaper of 38 May. The article title was Different Directions, upon which RiceEye's team has drawn a detailed content analysis of all those things which are important for upcoming mains examination under the title of heading of the quads at crossroad strategic deliverables internal contradictions. Why why a title has been chosen like this, we will get to know once we discuss the key points on the title, the key things which are important in the article. But before that, I have a UPSC mains PYQ for you, a recent PYQ of 2022 on quads only. It states Quadrilateral Security Dialogue (Quad) is transforming itself into a trade bloc from a military alliance in the present times. Discuss. This question was in tune with the past situation of 2020. But if a question in near future in the mains of 2026 on quads will appear, I will make sure all these contents which are available over here will be very much helpful in addressing any question made by UPSC under the theme of quads. Therefore, let's start. Before starting, let's just briefly discuss what would be the framework of this lecture. First, we will roughly deal with the context why quad was important. Second, evolution of quad is very much important to know the background, the underpins, the key outcome of recent quad meet, foreign ministerial meeting, major challenges. What are the challenges the quad is facing at this time? Why is it important? Even after the challenges quad is facing, we need to keep in mind what the significance of quad is and a way forward and balanced conclusion. So the framework is according to the UPSC mains question and a ready-made question, a ready-made content which can be used in any theme of question under the topic of quad. Okay, then without a further delay, let's now discuss what all things are important in the article. The very first thing, context. We have seen quad's foreign ministry meeting exposed a duality of what? Expanding institutional cooperation, aiming rising strategic contradiction in a volatile Indo-Pacific world, Indo-Pacific region, where at one place we see there is expansion of institutions like quad and other summits, other multi-country forums. At the same point of time, we also see internal contradiction among those forums. This was the context because recently, as I have discussed, a ministerial meeting was held in India. So, if you know the context now, what are the leftover things that we need to know? The leftover things would be evolution of quad. So the birth of quad was on 2007. Between 2027 and 2026, there was a downturn or a trot in this forum where we don't see a significant movement, significant presence of quad. But at 2017, we see a revival of quad. And in 2021, under leadership of multi-level institutionalization 2024, from 2021 to 2024, we see again a high turn, and its height reached on 2024, where India's chairmanship reflects Quad's gradual strategic maturation, where from 2024, India is currently presiding the summit, and we have seen multiple changes and multiple important facts that has been taken into consideration by in this meeting. So what were the key outcomes of the recent Quad meeting? The first outcome was upgraded maritime transparency, where we see IPMSC or IPMDA institutionalized to strengthen maritime domain awareness, track dark shipping, and deter grey zone coercion in the Indo-Pacific region. The second would be operational interoperability. Quad at Sea mission deepens naval trust, again important for India. Coordination and security preparedness through personal embedding. Third is strategic infrastructure alternative, where we see Port Fiji project position Quads as a transparent, sustainable connectivity alternate to depth heavy infrastructure model like BRI's Belt and Road Initiative. There was also outcome on supply chain de-risking, where critical mineral partnership, we know India is heavily investing upon critical mineral partnership, aim to reduce strategic dependency on China in green tech and defense manufacturing. There has also considerable amount of dialogues upon this idea, and most important, a rule-based alignment while reaffirming UN clause which China clearly violates, and at times we see US also violating those ideas. That would be the that we will detail cover that the idea we will detail cover in our challenges part. For the time being, it reaffirms UN CLOS clause, freedom of navigation, territorial integrity, and to counter terror coordination, strengthening normative diplomacy. These were the major takeaways from this ministerial meeting. Even after these major takeaways, we get to see multiple challenges which is still facing the Quad. First is strategic divergence that I was speaking of. US at time accepting UN clause and at times not accepting this. Selective consultation creates trust deficit within Quad, which is again consensus based multilateral framework. Lack of China consensus. At times we see, though India has a strategic autonomy in place, US is very much strengthened about China, but we get to see Australia and Japan at times have a good contact with China, which again diverge the threat perception, the core idea. The third would be the institutional weakness itself. Unlike UN and other multinational organization which has a permanent headquarter and a continuity in their framework, we see absence in these situations, like absence of treaty basis, a secretariat, or a headquarter constraints continue implementing the or achieving the actual capacity of this organization, a meeting. And second last would be the delay in summit diplomacy, where leadership level disrupt risk institutional downgrading from strategic symmetry to ministerial symbolism only, where we get to see where the idea of Quad was to discuss key ideas which are prevailing over the maritime to be specific Indo-Pacific area. Now somewhere we get to see it's downgrading to a ministerial symbolism only, where no constructive work has been taken. And at last, again, a perception problem. where we get to see Quad is been continuously perceived by ASEAN as a ASEAN NATO, where Asian countries are not part of. In this situation, they feel threat to the idea of Quad, which is not actually the case, which again makes the ASEAN anxious and weakens the broader Indo-Pacific diplomatic legitimacy, because we know Asian countries play an important role over the Indo-Pacific region. Now, if we see the keeping all the challenges in mind, the challenges faced by Quad, if we now see why Quads actually matter to India, so that significance of Quad to India is drawn, and we can draw a balanced way forward over there, keeping the significance in mind, the importance of Quad in mind. The first, it plays as a maritime security multiplier, where India leverages its intelligence through sharing maritime and surveillance through this summit. It is a strategic balancing tool where it helps the member countries to counter China without compromising their internal doctrines, like India's doctrine of strategic autonomy, where India aligns to Quad at the same point of time. It also values that it has strategic autonomy attached to it. Therefore, it allows India to strategically handle the current situation. Geoeconomic resilience. As we have seen in the outcomes of the meeting, there was a dialogue on critical minerals. So it diversifies critical minerals and semiconductor supply chain beyond China-centric dependency. Infrastructure alternative. Quad again provides a infrastructure alternative from BRI-led infrastructure connectivity, and a anti-terror diplomacy, where internationalization of India's concern on cross-border terrorism via maritime and coordinated strategic messaging by the four members. So all those things, when we keep in mind the significance of Quad to India, now we can draw a balanced way forward, keeping the significance and the challenges in mind. So there should be institutionalized in place of rigid with flexibility, where the summit can be predictable and rolling secretariat can strengthen the continuity without a rigid alliance of structure. That will also help us to have a happening or a constant secretariat in place like UN agencies. At the same point of time, a rolling secretariat will ensure features like G20 summit, where the idea of flexibility can be ensured. No surprise doctrine. The test of one multilateral organization, whether it is important in the current scenario, is one of those tests is predictability. Is there a predictability in the pattern of doctrine, whether its core idea remains same even in the upcoming world changing scenarios? So that, keeping that in mind, if we make Quad such that there is no surprise doctrine into it, it can somewhere in the hotlines, in crisis and hotlines, with prior consultation, the Quad can reduce the strategic mistrust among its partners, where we get to see a divergence in the idea of while tackling China and securing the Indo-Pacific region, that can be reduced. On the same note, broadening non-military agendas. We know Quad is not only a military grouping. It is more than a military grouping. So to prove that more aggressively, Quad can discuss upon climate resilience, critical minerals, connectivity, which again indirectly or directly develops or improve the regional acceptance from ASEAN, especially from ASEAN countries, de-escalating commitment narratives, rebranding Quad as a public good platform may ease ASEAN. Again, the most important part is to make the Quad perceive a more friendly summit rather than a hostile summit to Asian countries who are more aligned to China. And at last, a operationalized asymmetry convergence where respecting divergent strategic culture can preserve unity aimed policy differences. As we speak in India, more the priority in place, the democracy strengthens. The same idea can be taken into consideration by the Quads also, where respecting each member's divergence over a particular point can ensure that it preserves unity aimed policy differences. Keeping all these things in mind, now if you draw a balanced conclusion at the end of our answer, the conclusion might look like this. Quad's durability rests on shared commitment to a rule-based Indo-Pacific where strategic convergence outweighs tactical divergence. With this, I would conclude today's discussion, and I would hope that today's discussion was indeed helpful for your preparation. And if it is indeed helpful for your preparation, if you feel so, I would also like you to like this video and subscribe to RiceEye's YouTube channel. Thank you once again.